Yes, Misty, I know. So people out there in the internet world, just watch a fantastic video. I have a cousin that would probably love that kind of thing because that particular cousin is like into languages and cultures and stuff. And I don't know how old the manuscripts they found have turned out to be. I mean, I'm sure some of the manuscripts they will never know how old they are. I don't know. I mean, they can tell by the type, and they can tell by the language used and stuff like that. But from what they were saying, there may be languages that up until now we didn't even know existed, which would be amazing. They were in Tibet, and these were caves. These were Buddhist caves in Tibet. They had to climb to get to them. A few were accessible. A few are accessible to people like you and me. But the really cool caves were inaccessible unless you could climb. They had climbing gear. And I mean, the artwork was just beautiful. And some of the caves people actually lived in. In one cave, they said it was a little granary, 3-section granary, which would have been really far out. Hey, Misty. But they found all sorts of manuscripts. And meow. Hello, Misty. You want to say hi to the world? See, it's kind of hard to see me because I'm so dark. And the light's off, so you can't see me too well. You see my eyeballs there. See, I got a new cousin, and I'm not sure what to think of that cousin yet. Anyway, so I think, and how not just the Tibetans, but Europeans as well, when they would write, and they would make these perfect lines. I don't know how they managed to do that without, because like modern writing paper has lines printed on it. Well, they didn't have that. Although I've seen documents where there were very faint lines that somebody drew on there, but I didn't get a good look at the manuscripts that they were finding, and they were just sitting there, just thrown around. I'm sure the wind and the rain and the snow and the ice disturbed them and was no help when it came to preservation. But the fluctuation in humidity, temperatures and stuff. Yes, Misty. But I think that would be so far out to just, it's like the Dead Sea Scrolls, finding the Dead Sea Scrolls. It would be amazing to discover something like that. Not even to discover it. I wouldn't have to discover it, just to be able to go there and see it, wherever it would be in the world. It would be just so cool, so far out, I would really like that. And one of the couples, it was a husband and wife team, and they had their 2 kids with them, which, like, I grew up overseas. I grew up in Europe and Asia, and I loved it. I got to see a side of life that most Americans sadly never will. Although it wasn't always pleasant, but that's part of the some of the unpleasantness is part of the pleasure, if you will, of looking back at it, from the perspective of being able to look back at it. But these 2 kids, to be there where very few foreigners ever visit. Well, actually, from the way they were talking, parts of the area receive a lot of foreign visitors. tourists, um, you have religious tourists, you have people who are just tourists, cultural tourists, you have scientists, researchers uh, going to investigate and stuff like that. But I just think that would be so cool to be able to do, to find something like that. You know what would be a cool place to? I'm sure people have probably. I shouldn't say I'm sure. People have probably checked. Big Bend National Park. You have when you go up the top of the mountain, and I stood actually literally with my toes at the edge of the cliff. I wouldn't do that today. I was a lot younger then. Um, what if the First Nations would have dug in to the cliff somehow, rappelled down, climbed down somehow, or climbed up, or even climbed sideways? I mean, who knows what caves there might be? There are mines. You can actually see some of them if you pay attention. You can see like where the opening used to be. I turned one of my cousins onto prickly pear fruit, and she was surprised, I guess, that one, she was eating cactus, and two, the pear, it's delicious. It's very sweet. And we weren't supposed to do that, but we were there. She was probably never going to see that, and it's not like the prickly pear wasn't going to produce another fruit. So, prickly pear fruit is actually very, very good. It's very delicious. Anyway, I thought that was really cool, and I just wanted to share that. I'll provide a link. Supposedly there's a second video, but I haven't been able to find that video yet. But I would love to know if anybody's ever translated those manuscripts. What's the language, or what are the languages? There could be more than one language. Are they religious texts? Are they political texts, historic text? I mean, text on history, medicine, astronomy, astrology, mathematics. Who knows? It could be all those things and more. But I thought it was really cool. So I'll try and remember to provide a link.